1. The cast is EM, entitled Mother, Kid, EM's kid, Old Sick Lady, Old Man, Old Sick Lady's husband, Nice Neighbor, PTO 1, Public Transportation Officer 1, PTO 2, Public Transportation Officer 2, and Wife, Partner, Wife's co-worker. Call is received. We headed out. A worrying call, not corona-related. The old sick lady has other health issues. She is, however, very fragile. They called in a little late, hoping it would pass on its own, to limit exposure if possible. It didn't pass. It got quite bad to the point of going to the hospital by themselves was no longer an option. We arrive at the house in question. No other options than to double park. Nice Neighbor waved us down. Note, as far as I know, he does shopping and gardening, etc. for the old sick lady and old man. Unsure. Nice guy anyway. I went inside and Partner gathered equipment needed. Old sick lady is a frequent caller. We knew what was needed. We're now both inside lady's house. Partner mentioned that there was a car waiting in front of the ambulance. And the lady inside was gesturing angrily. Barely 2 minutes pass, a horn starts blaring outside constantly. Nice Neighbor can be heard yelling at someone through the noise, then silence. A car door slams. An unknown, high-pitched voice, EM, can be heard but too far away to really understand. It's quiet for a bit. Then the following can be heard at the doorstep. Door is cracked open.
Get out of the way!
No, ma'am. What are you doing? You need to move your car. You're blocking in the ambulance, says Nice Neighbor.
Well, it should have just parked in a spot then. There's one right there. Now move and let me in. I have a child in the car. I've been waiting for 10 minutes.
Nothing was free when we arrived, and we don't care. We park conveniently for us, not you. Meanwhile, we are still caring for old sick lady. Ma'am, you're not getting in. Do not touch me, says Nice Neighbor again.
Let me in. I need to talk to the ambulance people.
More yelling of the same sort continues. Partner says she's not giving up, calling in a disturbance.
What is her problem?
Says the old man.
Why does she want in my house? I don't know this woman. Why does she want inside my house? Do I call the police? My wife is sick. Why is she yelling?
Old man was getting very anxious about the whole situation. Since Partner didn't need my help for the current part, and keeping calm was more important, what is the problem?
Well, excuse me, you're blocking the entire road. You should move your car.
We're on a call. Please back up and drive around the other side of the square. I try to head back inside.
I'm not the one blocking the road. I have my 6-year-old with me. He is frightened and just wants to go home.
The kid, who looks to be over 10 years old at least, trying to sink through the ground, standing next to the car. Then, turn your car around and go home. We're not moving our ambulance for you. This person needs help, and you need to leave before we call the police.
Well, okay, you don't have to be fucking rude about it. We're all in this crisis together, you know.
She then says in a calmer tone,
Oh, by the way, are those masks for corona? Those look like they work well.
My partner shouts on me from inside. I run back inside. EM calls after her.
I'm not that good at backing up. Could you help me? Hello?
The Nice Neighbor later stated he helped her back out before heading back inside to check on his kids. Old sick lady wasn't doing too well. The call was made to take her in as soon as we could safely move her. I run out, get a stretcher. EM was backed into an empty slot at this point. Meanwhile, the bus had been standing there, parked off to the side for a few minutes. It couldn't detour like cars did. The driver was just patently messing about on his phone. I head back inside, working on old sick lady. A few minutes later, we just got her on the stretcher as we hear the following. EM, what are you doing? Get out of that ambulance.
I'm just grabbing something for my son. They said it was okay.
Get out now. Mom, I don't even want a mask. Let's go home, please. We walk outside, and sure enough, EM was standing in the ambulance, making a mess out of everything, touching equipment, etc. without gloves, obviously searching for things. Info. The public transportation officers, PTOs, were nearby and had come to check out the situation of the blocked bus route. PTO 2 says to partner, Sir, did you give this woman permission to enter and take stuff from the ambulance? Hell no, she's been making a whole scene and has now contaminated our ambulance. Partner, meanwhile, had already called for a second ambulance as soon as we walked out and saw EM. That luckily arrived as fast as lightning. They ended up having to take old sick lady in. She left 4 or 5 minutes later than if they weren't delayed. But being stable, it seemed less risky to transfer her to their ambulance than to wait out EM and use a dirty one. PTO 1 and 2 were still trying to get her to come out. They're not allowed to touch people, but looked about ready to drag her out by the ears.
If they waited that long to even get her outside, she's fine.
Ma'am, it's not your call. You're blocking the EMTs from performing their jobs.
They could at least hand out masks to people who don't have any. Waiting around for them to finish talking and leave puts us at risk too.
Someone didn't take her meds today, it seems. Her arguments only became more and more childish. That she had the right of way. That there was a parking restriction, etc. PTO 1 and 2 finally got the woman to come out of the ambulance, right before the police arrived. They arrested EM. She went ballistic and started crying and grasping at the kid. The poor kid was bawling his eyes out, scared and confused. Nice neighbor ended up calling kid's dad, who came to collect him within minutes. The dad barely said a word, but the kid was crying. He didn't want to visit mom anymore if she kept doing mean things. And dad looked ready to pop her head off her shoulders but kept his cool. I really felt for the poor boy. The case is clear, with not only tons of witnesses, but also recorded on the ambulance's camera, the PTO's body cameras, and the bus's dash camera. That's all, folks. Let me know what you think of this entitled mother. 2. I used to work as a volunteer with a youth organization with kids aged 13 to 18. My organization organized for a camp in Scotland, and we had to get there using public transport, and I was in charge of getting 50 kids there with the support of 3 other adults. After lugging very large rucksacks and suitcases through London on public transport, making sure we didn't lose anyone, we finally got to the station, where we would catch a train that would take us about 7.5 hours to get to our destination. We managed to get on the train. We had prepaid, reserved seat tickets. So far so good, except when it came to actually getting our seats. Because it was a large group before we got on the train, there were lots of seats empty with the same booking name on all of the seats. So I can forgive people for thinking there was an error and those seats were in fact free. Most people were polite enough to get out of their seats immediately and let us sit in the seats that we had paid for without causing a fuss. And then there was Karen, her husband, and her 2 10-year-old kids. I said, "Excuse me, we have these seats reserved. Do you mind if we take them, please?" Being extra polite and forcing a smile, even though by this point I am already exhausted and fuming as to why they didn't take the hint at everyone else moving and let my party sit down.
"No, we're sitting here,"
she replied. "I can see that, but we paid for these seats. This is my name on the ticket, so please can you move?" My patience is wearing thin, and that forced smile is slowly turning to gritted teeth.
"You can find somewhere else in the train to sit. We're sitting here together as a family,"
she said. I explained to her that I have to look after 50 kids, and I'm not going to run up and down the train just to keep tabs on them all. And if she expected me to find another seat, then she could easily get up and do the same.
"I have 2 young children, and I have a 2-hour train journey all the way to town, so I'm not getting up."
And that's when I lost it. She was preventing us from sitting down, loads of kids still standing in the aisle of the train with massive rucksacks because they had no seats and nowhere to put them. People who had politely vacated their seats standing and can't pass as this one family had forced us to be stuck in this carriage with nowhere to go. So in a very angry and stern voice, I leaned forward and said, "Oh, apologies. I didn't realize you were sitting with 2 kids and had a 2-hour journey. But I have 50 kids and a 7-hour journey. And you are sitting in seats that we have paid for, so I guess I win. So get up and move, now!" I turned to a few of the kids in my group and said to them calmly, "This lady was just leaving. You guys sit here when she's gone." She hesitantly left her seat, complaining to her husband looking for his support. But all he managed were some half-hearted statements pretending to support her. She had to walk through the dirty looks of all the kids still waiting to get to their seats, the other passengers who were blocked in by her refusal to move, and the train conductor who had come to see what all the fuss was about. I hope she had to stand for the rest of her journey. 3. Bit of background. I used to work in a high school situated in a pretty low socio-economic area, so there was a lot of dysfunctional families, gang wars, and race wars. I have hundreds of entitled parent stories, but I'll start with the scariest one first. Cast: me, obvious, e.g. entitled Grandma, EM, guess who, D, deputy, M's, male staff, M, manager. So it was a normal, flat-out day, and I was reaching the end of my rope with entitled people, when this mother comes into my office. Everyone has to sign in to see me to collect a student, per school policy.
I have a meeting with M's about my son being bullied.
Alright, let me get a hold of him for you. I pick up my phone to call through to him, when EG entered the office. I didn't pay her any mind since I was getting EM's name and talking to the teacher. Once I hung up the phone, I asked EM to take a seat and wait for the teacher to come down.
I have a meeting with M's over my grandson being bullied.
I'm confused. Oh, you're both going in this meeting for the same person? I look over at EM thinking they must be related.
No, her little brat is the one bullying my grandson. Bullshit, your grandson's been targeting my boy. Shut up, I'm not talking to you.
I can't remember exactly what was said after that because both women decided to have a screaming match in my office. This was the first time this had happened to me, so I wasn't sure of the protocols to follow. Excuse me, you both need to stop. Hello? Excuse me? Neither woman was listening, and I didn't know what else to do. I looked down the hall that led to the deputy. I can't leave the office unattended in case one of the women tried to attack me when I was walking past. But no one was coming up. When I looked back, EM was right up in EG's face, about to take a swing, when finally M's and D's showed up and physically separated the women. Once both women were outside, I started shaking. I'm not good with loud conflicts. And my manager came and took me to the back room to cry. They offered me the rest of the day off, but I said I'd be fine. I needed a while to calm down before getting back to it. I eventually found out that the child and grandson were little shits who didn't like each other, got into a fist fight, and then lied about being bullied by the other. 4. For some context, this just happened at a Whole Foods in West Los Angeles. So yeah, lots of entitled crazy people in general, I suppose. Me is me, the chosen one, EM, crazy entitled mom, EK, entitled kid, 10-ish, cashier, the poor cashier at the checkout, WFM, Whole Foods manager or assistant manager, not 100% sure. These days, with what's going on, we're using grocery delivery services mostly. But we were out of a few items that my wife needed, so being the good husband, off I go to the nearby Whole Foods. It's not particularly busy at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, so I figure I can get in and out relatively quickly, and coronavirus-free. I'm wearing my mask like you're supposed to do, and so are all employees and customers in the store, and doing social distancing, all that stuff like normal human beings. Anyhow, I have my own bag, and it's just a few items, so I don't need a cart. I grab everything and head to checkout. Bit of a line, as only 2 checkout lanes are open. Line is long enough with social distancing that it backs into one of the aisles, so I go behind the last person and stand, slowly moving up. After about 3 minutes, the line has slowly progressed forward, so that I am at the edge of the aisle, but still several feet from the start of the checkout stand. EM and EK show up, and literally just move in front of me and cut the line. There were 2 people in front of me at this point, and 3 or 4 behind me. If it had been EM and EK with just a handful of items, I probably would have let it go. But they had a full cart, probably 35 plus items in there, including lots of produce that takes longer to ring up. I politely say, "Excuse me," to her in a nice voice, but loudly enough that unless she is hard of hearing, she heard me. She ignores me completely. I have my mask on, so I repeat with, "Excuse me, ma'am, but you cannot cut in the line. There are people behind you." Again, in a nice, calm demeanor, but louder than before. People in front and behind clearly hear me. Finally, EM spins around and in a tone of voice that is a mixture of disgust and just utter rudeness says,
"Well, you weren't in line. You were in the aisle still shopping."
No, I was not still shopping. I was at the edge of the aisle because the checkout line was long and everyone is standing a few feet apart. As you can see, there are people behind me, also waiting in line.
No, I didn't see you in line, and I didn't see all those other people in line either. You must have all gotten in line after me,
i.e. 5 people lined up within 60 seconds of her in a mostly empty store. Get real, crazy lady. She also raises her voice well beyond what is reasonably needed to try and make some kind of scene, I guess. This got the attention of the cashier. "Is everything okay? I'm moving as fast as I can, I apologize. Only 2 checkout lanes are open. We're short-staffed due to what's going on." Well, EM unfortunately cut into line.
"He's fucking lying. Besides, I'm here with my young EK. He's tired and hungry. We need to go first. It's just common decency to let women and children get priority."
These are literally her words. EM then begins to rant about God knows what else. I lose track because at this point, EK, who had been preoccupied on his phone, suddenly comes up to me and knocks my bag of groceries out of my hands. I wasn't holding them very tightly, and just wasn't expecting this, so was caught off guard by this little twerp 10-year-old kid. I was fuming, but it's a 10-year-old kid, so what am I gonna do? Not much, other than to blurt out, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" EK is stunned, very satisfying to me. EM, who had been ranting a soliloquy all over her woes to the cashier, turns back to me and now begins to verbally berate me on a level that I've never truly encountered before in person. I mean, I watch crazy Reddit videos on our public freakout, but now I get to witness one live in all its glory. Thankfully, cashier sees all the insanity, immediately calls for a manager on the store intercom system. The people behind me in line are just stunned. One of them says, "People are just losing their minds." But otherwise, none of them have really spoken up to now. As soon as WFM manager arrives, EM tries talking over everyone as follows.
"This fucking asshole guy thinks he is the chosen one and gets to tell people how to live their lives."
EM then takes off her face mask.
"Can you kick him out of the store? He's making me feel unsafe."
"Well, your removal of your face mask is making me feel unsafe," says the manager, "and is also against our temporary store policies due to the pandemic. Please put your face mask back on immediately or you need to leave the store."
"What are you talking about? Masks are not mandatory."
I then explain to the Whole Foods manager everything that's occurred to this point. Thankfully, the 2 customers right behind me finally speak up to confirm my story. WFM then promptly kicks EM and EK out of the store, not letting them check out, and tells them to come back later when they have their masks on and are willing to follow social distancing rules and have courtesy towards others. Cashier then finally rings me up, and I go on my merry way. Elapsed time nearly 25 minutes, just inside Whole Foods. Should have been about 5 to 10 minutes in and out. I get home. Wife angry it took me so long to get 6 items. I tell her story. She likes story. Disappointed I didn't get it on video. Life. 5. This happened just before lockdown. So without further ado, here is our star-studded cast. Me as me, EM the Mega Karen, EMF Karen's friend, WB work buddy, BB Big Boss. The first thing to note is I work in a very well-known fast food chain that the staff are often looked down upon because having this job must mean I failed education. I actually have a degree, but I like my job here, and we have a policy that our bosses try and enforce even when we think it's stupid. The policy is that if you have a meal, you get 1 sauce sachet for free. There are 10 pence for any extra, as the store lost 5,000 last year from free sauces being given out, which is crazy. And her Karen. Her and 2 other Karens bring their actually really nice kids in and come to my till to place their order. I give the kids balloons as they are really polite and sweet. It was 2 boys and a girl, shouldn't be any older than 7. We get to the end of the order and ask if they would like saucies, explaining that it would be an extra charge, after she asked for $3 worth of ketchup. Also bear in mind that we have pumps of saucies that are free. She tells me to take them off the order after I explain, and I give her a receipt and tell them to wait to collect their order. I start processing other orders and bagging them up, and getting drinks as it gets fairly busy, and WB is fairly new, so I'm trying to help her and keep her happy, as it can get overwhelming. She gets the order ready for EM and hands it over. Now I'm just out of sight at the drink station, and here the EM asks for sauces. WB puts some on the tray for her, not knowing the policy yet. I let it slide as I don't want to embarrass her in front of customers. So once she was done, I let her know, and we laugh as it wasn't really her fault. Then EMF appeared, hearing me talking to WB, and begins screeching, "I want to speak to your manager. How dare you berate her for having good customer service, you money-grubbing a-hole." I'm sorry, she is new, and isn't aware of all the processes yet. "Where's your manager? You should not be working with people." Now, I'm a chill person, generally, and do my best to keep everyone happy. I have really good customer service skills. It's why I'm the only guy on till. Give me a moment, he's in the office. Karen folds her arms, scowling like she just smelled bad eggs. I get my manager and he sighs, coming out to deal with the situation. "Hello, miss. What seems to be the problem?" "That boy has been nothing but rude. He refused my children's sauce. He shouted at this girl for no reason. He should be fired, and I want our meal copped." Wait, for what? I mouth WTF to WB, as she is just as stunned as I am. Then she does the unexpected. "I'm sorry, miss, but he did no such thing. He told me something I didn't know, and from what he tells me, you just did this to get free sauces." Silence. No one expected her to speak up, as she seems like the timidest person on the planet. It takes a second, but EMF collects herself. "You allow your staff to talk to customers like this? It's disgraceful." BB looks at me. "Well done. Thank you for helping our new starters with our policies and procedure. And miss, I won't be comping anything. It's very clear what's going on here. And if you think you're the first person to try and get freebies out of us, you're mistaken. You're only embarrassing yourself and your friends. Now, you can either sit down and eat your food or you can leave. I'm not going to punish my staff for doing their job." EMF looked stunned, like someone just slapped her, and my manager pulled me into the office to laugh about the situation, and give me Employee of the Month for helping WB with her training. I haven't seen EM or her EMF since, but for some reason I don't feel bad about it, and WB and I are now really good friends. We're both looking at stepping up to becoming trainers. I have a few more of these for some reason working at fast food attracts CPs. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to the Impractical Proudness of Parents. iPop number 38. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. I swear to whatever. The longer I do videos like this, it makes me lose my faith in humanity just a little bit more. Still, I must remind myself there are good people out there. There are good people trying hard and making the world a better place. They sadly are not running things at the moment, and that does seem to make the entitled people in society think they can get away with, well, whatever. So it's always good to hear of people like the last story, like the manager in the last story, and the girl in the last story, all standing up to these crappy people and letting them know that, you know, every now and again you get the this far no further moment, where they put a stop to their nonsense and remind them that civility counts. Okay, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.